Hey everybody, today I thought I would make a short little video on actually an 18th century drawing that I found not too long ago. The last while I've been actually doing my own research. Unfortunately, I was kind of one of those guys that went off a lot on research from other people. And so lately I've been doing a lot of reading in 18th century journals, runaway ads, just different writings of the 18th century. And also trying to find period images, paintings, etchings, drawings, things like that. And I found that it gives a guy a lot better idea and probably a little bit of a different idea than what you already had in your mind, because I think we get a lot of ideas, preconceived ideas from movies or stories or things like that. And this gives you a much more realistic view of what it would have been for, say someone giving up their life in the civilized world and going out into the wilderness, to hunt or to trade or whatever it might be. And also, it provides documentation. You might end up throwing some stuff out of your kit or adding to, or at least maybe you're using something, like was in my case. I was using some things, which I'll show you in a second, that I really didn't know if there was, I had never seen documentation for it or, even heard it referenced to. And so it can be very interesting. The drawing that I'm referring to was made by Thomas Hutchins, and he was with Colonel Henry Bouquet on his march to the Muskingum River in 1764. And he made this map of their journey, and he included this drawing with the map. And it could quite possibly depict a hunting party of possibly Delaware or Lenape Indians. And there's a number of things about this drawing that I found rather interesting. First of all, the whole fire scene here. Two simple Y sticks on either side of the fire with a bar across or another stick across, from which they suspended their kettle. Now you may think, what's so great about that? Well, for me, as one who is just starting to do actual research for myself, I use this method quite a bit myself, but I wondered, is this just a modern bushcraft idea, or was this something that they actually used in the 18th century? Well, as we can see here, obviously they did. So, it's just kind of that affirmation of finding documentation for it, which is the reason for doing this research anyway. Another thing that I found very interesting was their use of what looks to me like a wooden Y stick or hook, which they use to suspend their kettle from the fire. Again, this is one of those things that I used. I've seen modern bushcraft people use it. But again, I didn't really have documentation, didn't know if they actually used something like this or not, or what they used. So anyway, it's just kind of another interesting tidbit there. Also, another thing is some of their gear I found kind of interesting. I've always been interested in shot pouches and accoutrements, things like that, and there's a pretty good image here of a shot pouch, looks like, hanging in the tree in the upper left hand side of the picture. And there's not a whole lot of I haven't found a lot of period images or examples, even in museums, what have you, of shot pouches, so it's always kind of interesting to find an actual image, something that you can use for documentation again. Okay, so quite possibly most of you, if not all of you, probably already have used or seen the stick used, the hook made out of a stick to suspend over a fire to hang your kettle, tea kettle, whatever you might want to hang over it. But for the one or two of you that maybe haven't done it, don't know how it's done, I'll show you really quickly. I like to find what I like to find is a green stick, simply because it's slightly stronger than one that's dead, obviously, and also it won't be as liable to catch fire as quickly. But you can look around on the ground and find a dead stick that's got a Y in it or hook or something. You use that as well. But what I do is I find a piece of, well, a small piece of brush or tree that's like this, that's got a Y in it, and then you simply make a cut right here, cut it completely off, and then you come up here a couple inches and cut this Y off, and then further up here you cut it again, and what you end up with is a hook like this. Then what I do is I'll take a knife and I'll just make a notch around the top here to where you can attach your leather whang or string or whatever you might want to use to tie it, to suspend it from your whatever you're using over your fire, whether it's a tripod or two forked sticks and a pole like we just seen. But there it is, very simple, very quick. I've used these quite a bit myself. And again, I wondered as I used it, I never really had documentation for it or anything. And in the back of my mind, I was wondering, is this a modern bushcraft deal? Or was it actually used in the 18th century? Obviously, as we've seen in this painting, it was used not only by whites, but also by the American Indians. It's a neat little item. You don't have to, you can make it wherever you are, whether you're out trekking, hunting, or whatever. You need a hook, you can just make it, and you don't have to pack one around in your in your pack or your pocket or something like that. Just more weight and just something else to carry. So and when you're finished, you can just throw it away, and that's it. Pretty handy item. Okay, so the other thing that I thought was kind of interesting about this picture is you'll notice around the fire they've got several sticks stuck in the ground with meat on it, roasting next to the fire. Very simple idea, common sense, but I guess I never really thought myself of doing it exactly like that. I normally just took a stick and put a piece of meat on it and held it over the fire, and you had to sit there and turn it and hold it over the fire until it's done. Or I'd try to prop up a stick with a rock or something, and it'd end up falling into the fire and just kind of making a mess. What I like about this idea is basically you take a stick and sharpen it on both ends, and you can stick that thing in the ground next to your fire like this right here. I would kind of put it at an angle toward, let's say here's your fire, kind of angle up, stick it in the ground good. The ground's a little bit hard, we're a little bit dry here. And then you could just simply put your meat over the stick here. If you leave a little notch like this, it'll keep the meat from sliding on down. And then what I thought was really neat about this is, then you can go on and you can do other things. While your meat's cooking, you can be making coffee or making ash cakes or something like that, and you just come back and rotate your meat as you need to until it's completely finished. So anyway, another something to try when you're out in the bush. Anyway guys, that's it. I hope that you all enjoyed this little video. Hope you found it interesting. Very simple ideas, and maybe it's not new to any of you all, but I just kind of found it interesting to find actual documentation for some of the things we're doing. It's something that you can go out now and try while you're out trekking or whatever you're doing, living history. That's what the hobby is about, is experiencing what they experience. So again, hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next one.